Good morning all. Welcome to my studio. My name is Zapp, and I'd like to give you some information about the We Salute You project. This is a project designed specifically to honour our veterans. We're talking about the normal, everyday veteran. Because you see, to me, they are our heroes. These are people who volunteered, who went to war. These are people who decided to protect this country. They were prepared to give their lives for this country. And in my opinion, they deserve to be honoured. So this is an open invitation to all our veterans out there, all groups, all associations that are out there to help our veterans. The idea of this project is to put a spotlight on the people that have served this country. And also an opportunity to let you know that there's a good chance that you are walking with heroes. You are walking with our veterans. We hope to release a book with a lot of the paintings that I produce to put a spotlight on our veterans. I hope you join us. I'd like to hear your story. I'd like to know a little bit about you. This will be an interesting project. This is a project that I think deserves to be out there to put a face and a story to our veterans. I hope you join us.
Hello, welcome to the Patriot Show. I'm your host, Anthony Stephen Malone. Have a very special guest on the show today, all the way from Australia, actually in Australia, Joe Zapp, the war artist. His work is incredible, and we are honoured to have him on the show to talk about his artwork and to view some of his artwork as well. Hello, Joe. How are you doing?
Hi. How are you? And nice to see you. And thank you for inviting me over. It's certainly an honour for me to be on this as well.
Oh, mate, it's your artwork is incredible, and I wanted my viewers to want to see you, meet you, and hear what you've got to say about your artwork. Can you tell my viewers, because I know a lot of them would have heard of your name and seen some of your artwork, but to start with, can you tell them a little bit about your background, please?
Okay, as an artist or just general?
Everything.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do my best, and you can then do whatever you need to do with it. I started painting and drawing at the age of 8, and it was completely by accident. There's no history of art in my family. As a matter of fact, it was frowned on to be an artist because it was never seen as a means of making a living. My parents brought me over from Italy to Australia at the age of 8. On the ship, on the way over here, we used to have school classes and lessons like most people would normally. One lunchtime, I had this thing running through my head that was really, it was frustrating me because it was happening basically every day. I was listening to the teacher talk, and her face intrigued me. She wasn't particularly beautiful or anything like that. It just intrigued me. And I thought I'd like to be able to draw that. But it was an unusual thought because it wasn't conscious. It wasn't something I planned to do. In any case, one lunchtime, all the kids went out to have their lunch, and I stayed back and started drawing on the blackboard. In the process of doing this, the teacher came in just as I was finishing one of the drawings, and it was a drawing of her. And she liked it so much and praised it. It was almost Christmas time. So she asked me if I would do a drawing of a Christmas theme, which I did. She praised that as well, and everyone seemed to like it. And that was really the beginning of drawing for me. And that's been pretty much what I've done all my life. I've done other things in growing up, but drawing was the main drive of my life, I guess. So that's how it started. That's how the process began for me.
Right, so that's how you started your drawing career. Eh? Why did you choose to start to paint and draw about the military and the armed forces?
Well, about 10 years ago, I had a heart attack. Prior to that, I was doing a lot of live shows. And in the live shows, I would do a painting, a large painting, and auction it off during the day. But this was really done more for sporting events and a variety of charities. The idea was to raise money for different groups. Been doing this for a long time, and they used to pay me a lot of money to do that. I had managers and agents and other groups of people that worked with me. When I had the heart attack, they all seem to have disappeared. All my friends disappeared. And when I say friends, they were work acquaintances, but they all tend to disappear. I was approached by a military brigadier, Brigadier Neil Bevington was his name, for the Reserve Forces Day Council of Victoria. And he had this idea of, why don't we do some paintings of the VCs, Australian VCs. I was not able to work for a long time. The effect of of the operation that I had affected me for nearly 12 months. So I was off work effectively for 12 months. He came up with this idea. I loved the idea, and I thought, well, let's do that. He selected a number of veterans. Originally, it was about 10, 15 VC Australian Victoria Cross recipients. So I started to paint these. Now, the idea of the paintings was to do a portrait, and the action that was responsible for them receiving the VC. So each of the paintings would have that sort of thing. So to do that, I needed to research the individual Victoria Cross recipient's life, an understanding of their background, and an understanding of what they did to receive the VC. The more I got into it, the more it affected me, both emotionally and almost in every other way. Some of these, well, not say some of them, most of these amazing men and women, which were different aspects of it, not necessarily all Victoria Cross, but the majority of them were Victoria Cross, had a deep effect on me. And I started to do these paintings. We ended up working on the basis that we couldn't leave any one of them out. When you start painting men of this sort of caliber, it's difficult to decide, well, I'm not going to paint him, or I'm not going to paint that other person. It really got to a point where I wanted to do the whole series of paintings of all the VCs, paintings and sketches. So we ended up doing 40 paintings and 60 sketches. And that basically took me, with the research, 12 months to put those together. News of what I did got out, and I was invited to do a number of shows by the RSL clubs and different groups that were promoting or helping our not Victoria Cross, but our veterans in general. But they wanted the idea of presenting the paintings. They had some understanding that my background was to do live paintings at functions. So I incorporated that part as I would visit different RSL clubs and different groups, do the paintings on a day. I did find when I started doing this that having a manager and an agent became a burden, in the fact that they wanted, obviously they were getting paid for what they did. So I really shut everything down. When I had the heart attack, I saw a different side of what I could do and couldn't do. So what I decided to do was to give my services free, but not to charge for the show, and donate 50% of the sale of the painting to the individual clubs. And this, again, it came about by accident, because basically I offered my services to one club. We auctioned the painting. The painting received, it was received very well, and it generated substantially more than they expected. In return, they gave me 50% back for the sale of the painting. Now, I hadn't worked for 12 months, and a lot of the funding that I had put aside was starting to disappear. So this was gratefully accepted. It was not intended that way when I started. That gave me 50% back. The painting sold for over $5,000, so they gave me $2,500 back. They were very happy with what they received, and so was I. And they spread the word to different clubs, and that continued on. And basically, that's how it started, to work with the veterans. One of the interesting things for me anyway, was that as I was doing these paintings, veterans would come and chat. Different groups would, or a woman would come over and tell me about her son who had served, or her father who had served. And I was getting an amazing amount of information while painting these paintings. The stories were fantastic. They weren't necessarily all heroic stories. They weren't all about action. Just the everyday things that these people did. It got to me. And I've been basically spending about 80% of my time working with veteran style paintings. I still do work for a lot of other charities, pandemic allowing, of course. We'll see what happens next year. So that gives you a bit of an understanding of my background, I guess.
Right. I'd just like my viewers to just think about what you've just said there. You've done 40 paintings and 60 sketches of every Australian who had won the Victoria Cross. Now, on top of that, you also got 10 reproductions of each painting, and they also went out on tour. This is huge. I want your viewers to think 40 paintings is a lot of paintings to be on tour with, but then you got each one duplicated 10 times, and they also all went out on a tour as well. Can you tell the viewers about that?
Well, what was happening is that as the RSL clubs would approach us to do a show, one of the problems we came across is we could only do one show at a time. So we wanted to eliminate that problem. So I contacted a number of people, and we got some sponsors, and we decided to do exact replicas, and that took a bit of time to actually to get them so that they were as close to the original as possible. So we were able to do a number of shows on the same night. Now I couldn't appear in each one of them, but the exhibition could. So in the early days, we were doing as many as 5, 6, 7 shows in the one night, where the replicas would replace the originals. One thing happened that we actually took the originals off the road. We held the show, and the courier damaged one of the paintings. And that was really that was heartbreaking, because that was a painting of that had a lot of meaning. I repainted it, by the way, and did another version of it. But we stopped sending out the originals, and we worked with the replicas. It didn't bother anyone. Everyone was still happy to see the images and still do it. But yes, we were able to do a number of shows simultaneously by having replicas.
Yeah. Incredible that your little idea suddenly expanded, then expanding exponentially. But so many people have had the opportunity to see your artwork, not just the originals, the replicas. It's incredible. If someone wants to see some of your photographs, have you got a website? Have you got a page?
Look, we've been working on having a website now for quite a while. And when I say quite a while, it's probably about 5, 6 months. And I've just not been happy with what the end result was. So we're still working on it. We will actually have a web page to put this out. But look, if anyone wants to see what I do and how I do it, my Facebook page is certainly open. Just Joe Zapp. There are two basically, Joe Zapp or Joe Zapp Artist. They're certainly welcome to click on that and see what I do. I still continue to do the paintings you see behind me are the most recent images that I'm working on. I'm working on a project called We Salute You, and the idea behind that is to honour your average veteran. And surprisingly enough, the average veteran has some amazing stories. The one on this side you might just be able to see there is a father who was in World War II, re-enlisted and served in Vietnam. His eldest son was in Vietnam at the same time as his father, and his younger son is I think just completed service. So that's and there's interesting little stories on each one. So yes, they're certainly welcome to have a look at the Facebook page and can follow that if they like.
I would recommend everyone go over to his Facebook page and have a look at some of these images. They are incredible, very thought-provoking as well. One or two of the paintings that you've done were on PTSD as well. Can you describe them and talk to me viewers about that?
Well, I did two paintings, and the idea behind those paintings was to try and capture the feelings that post-traumatic stress disorder brought on to these amazing people. And it was something that was nagging me for quite a while. I would, as I mentioned earlier, I was approached when I was doing paintings at shows by a variety of service people and their families telling me about their sufferings with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I started getting a lot of these images from what they said and how they felt, and I really, it was bothering me for a long time. It was just something in the back of my head that just was just sitting there that I couldn't get rid of. So I decided to do a painting of it. It was not meant to be up for sale. It wasn't really meant to do anything other than to get rid of an emotion that was bothering me. When I say bothering me, it was a nagging, constant thought that I should try and put this on canvas. So I did. I posted it on my Facebook page one day, and I had a number of people interested in buying it. So we decided, well, I'm going to put it online and open it up. If anyone's interested, they can buy it, and we can raise money for a group. And we'll raise money for a group called Australian Homeless Veterans. And once again, working on the same theme of half of whatever it sells for will go to the charity. There's no cost to the charity, that it didn't need to do anything. It was just, I thought what they were doing to help veterans was important and it should be supported. So that's what I decided to do. The painting sold. It did very well. And we forwarded the money towards that. One of the things that bothered me a little bit was the fact that I wasn't able to put everything I wanted to do into that one painting. The canvas, although quite a large canvas, didn't allow for it. So I did a second painting. And once again, we auctioned that off, and that did quite well as well. So yes, those are the two paintings that expressed post-traumatic stress disorder. And I think on my Facebook page, if you scroll down far enough, there's images on, I think, on both of those. Or at least one of them I know is there.
Yeah, they're very powerful. Being a veteran myself, any veteran who looks at them will understand them. Very powerful images, very thought-provoking and relevant, I think, now. Relevant 10 years ago, relevant now. Yeah, very interesting. I want to say anything else about that. I will let the viewers have a look and make their mind up on that one. You've done a lot of paintings. Is there one which really intrigued you that you wanted to do out of all of them? Which one was that?
There is one that intrigues me constantly, and that is the next painting. I get told a story, and images appear in my head based on that story. and I can't wait to put that on canvas. So I have strong feelings towards all my paintings, but the one that intrigues me the most, the one that constantly keeps me excited about what I do, is the next painting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the way you put your ideas onto the canvas as well. It's unusual. It is striking. The imagery that veterans and serving soldiers and all from all services, they look at your pictures and it talks to them straight away, which is a gift. There isn't any other way to describe it. You do such a large variety of your paintings. You don't have one sort of style. You can jump between different styles. What inspires you? What motivates you?
Look, the idea behind what I do is I don't overthink a painting.
Yeah.
I let the subconscious take over, and it's the stories that drive me. It's the stories that I love to capture. In the projects that I'm doing now, the individual veteran that, when you speak to them or you speak to their family, when they approach me, they usually approach me with, look, my father wasn't a hero, didn't do a lot to a lot of people, but he's a hero to us. And then they tell me their story, and they're heroes. They are genuine. These are people that volunteered to, in many cases, to serve. They went to serve their country. They were prepared to give their lives. That automatically makes them heroes. Sorry, I get a bit emotional when it comes to these thoughts. They tell me their stories, or they send them to me in writing, and I read them. Whatever comes to my mind is what I decide to paint. It isn't theme orientated on the basis that they all must have this, or this. The idea behind it is whatever their stories evoke in me is what I try and put on canvas. So hopefully that is what keeps them fresh and keeps them individual in every way, because it really does represent the individual story. And I've done paintings of accountants, which had amazing stories, cooks, as well as heroes. In my mind, there is no separation. If someone has served, they're heroes, and they deserve to be remembered.
Absolutely. Couldn't have put it better in words myself anyway. The which was the first painting that you did? Which one was that?
The first painting?
Yeah, which was the first one, military-wise?
In general, or current or recent?
In the military, with the military theme, which was the first painting you actually did?
I did a painting of a corporal from Tasmania, and I do apologise because his name doesn't come to mind at the moment. But he was basically a shopkeeper before he enlisted. I'll just give you a little bit of background on this gentleman. He was in a group that were attacking the enemy in World War I. They were pinned down by a cluster of snipers, and these snipers were creating havoc with these soldiers. The officers in charge put together groups of to try and find some way to eliminate the problem, but it wasn't working, and they were getting, the soldiers were getting killed and were getting hurt badly and so on. This particular soldier, and I do apologise, I'm hoping that by now I would have sent you the information and you'll have his name and his photo up on screen. But basically, he overheard the officers say that they were going to put together another platoon to try and do this. Didn't say anything to anyone. He grabbed a bag of some sort, filled it with grenades, and started to crawl towards where they thought the snipers were. Now, he crawled through shallow trenches, and there were machine guns firing around him, explosions, things of that sort, constantly going on around him. But he kept on going. He finally got to where the snipers were. He held up a grenade in one hand and a grenade in the other hand and yelled out, "Surrender or die." There was no response. He yelled out again. Suddenly the door swung open and a soldier, a lieutenant of some sort, attacked him. He hit him so hard, and basically one of the hands that was holding the grenade, and knocked him out. And he yelled out in a much more determined voice, "Surrender or die." The door once again slowly opened, and 12 officers, all snipers, or officers of different ranks, came out. He took them prisoner. He got them back through these same shallow trenches, back to his front line, to where his group was, handed them over, and went back. Didn't say anything to anyone. It was only because one of the officers actually saw him, and he received a VC for that action. And you would think, well, he did well. He proved himself. He did a number of other things, but basically the war was over, and he went back to being a shopkeeper. World War II happened, and he re-enlisted. Gave him a different name and a different age, and once again he became a corporal. His commanding officer was informed of who he was. Now he had a problem. He couldn't let him go. You don't fire a Victoria Cross recipient, you would think. In any case, he kept him on. So they're now in the jungle, and they're fighting the Japanese. And his group they were surrounded. They could not get help, could not get assistance. The commanding officer called him over and said, "Look, we really don't have a choice. We're not going to be able to get help. We're not going to be able to fight our way out of this. We're completely outnumbered. We need to surrender." Once again, he grabbed a bag and filled it with grenades and wandered off towards the jungle. And as he turned around to his officer, and this was recorded, he basically said, "No surrender for me," and went in. Over the next 20 odd minutes or whatever, they heard explosions and then silence. And that was the last he was heard of. That story got to me. And that was the one that as I read it, I thought, no, I really need to paint this. I really need to have this. And I had the image of him bringing in 12 German officers, German soldiers in general. And that's what I painted. And hopefully you've got that on screen so people can see it. And that was my first of the VC paintings that I did.
Okay. Yeah, it seems the Victoria Cross itself is an honour for people to get that, but the acts of bravery and selflessness that these guys go through to get it is phenomenal. So for you to be able to put that into a painting, I think is a honoured way for anybody to be remembered. Very important that as well. Obviously, people are going to be able to look at the end of the interview, and we're going to have a lot of your artwork at the end of it as well, so people can look and they can appreciate a lot of your paintings at the end of this interview. I think it's very important because you've done so many, and we've just scraped the tip of the iceberg. But I think when people see some of the images as well, I think that's well, I'm biased. I think it's excellent. Okay. Well, I'm going to close down the interview in a few minutes. I would like to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your stories and telling us about your artwork as well. It's a passion. It is a gift. and it's incredible. So I hope my viewers can appreciate that as well. Would you like to say anything, Joe, to everyone who's out there?
Look, I thank you for having me on, and I hope your audience likes what I do. And basically, I would like to say something to all that have served, including you. Thank you so much for your service. I think you guys are amazing, and I appreciate what you did, regardless of what you did. If you served, you need to be honored, and I do thank you. Thank you for your service. That's pretty much it. Thank you for having me on. I really do love talking about these men and women, and I hope you enjoy my art.
Okay, Joe. Thank you so much for myself and all the viewers as well. If you can hold on the line for a minute, I'm just going to close down the interview now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, incredible stories from an incredible man and an incredible artist. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Stay tuned for the next couple of minutes and enjoy some of the images of Joe's artwork at the end of the interview. Right, everybody, thank you for watching the Patriot Show, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is part 1, of which will be a 8-part special on the Victoria Cross and on the gentlemen who have won it as well. Take care, everybody. Catch you on the next show. Goodbye.